you're watching this video, then I'm guessing you've realized that the full moons, new moons, and especially eclipses have profound effects on your life. As the full moon or new moon or whatever rolls around, draws near, you might find that you feel a lot more sensitive, emotionally, psychically, more cracked open, and able to perceive the good and bad vibes of the people and situations in your life. And also you might feel more sensitive to your own emotions. Your emotional reactions to stuff in life might seem amplified. Also during these periods, you might feel like there is great change being imposed upon you from the universe, from some type of external source, and it can feel like there's not much you can do to resist it. But things are changing, you are sensitive, and the combination of these two things can make for quite a chaotic experience. But I'm guessing you've learned, maybe over the years, how to glean personal, valuable insights through these experiences of transformation and accelerated evolution. Even though you might find yourself struggling at times, as the full moons come and pass, you find yourself usually kind of a different person, more self-aware, more authentic, more embodied, less conditioned, more free to express yourself. But right now, as I film this video, we're kind of in the middle of it. We're one day away exactly from the powerful super full moon, which means it's closer to the earth and even stronger in its effects, happening on October 6th, 2025 in the sign of Aries. And right now you might not feel just yet like you've come out on the other side and you're grateful for the challenges. Right now you might be in the thick of it. And that's why I make these videos. I make these videos for both you and me because I also go through this stuff as well. And what I've found is that each astrological alignment has its own themes, has its own lessons to bestow, its own challenges, absolutely, but also its own benefits. Tons of opportunities for growth and expansion that you can use, real world benefits you can use to improve your life from this time forward. And what this video you're watching here is about is the 5 different major themes that at least I'm picking up on for this powerful full moon happening on October 6th, 2025. Theme number 1 aligns perfectly, if you read this book, with the second agreement in the book, The 4 Agreements, by, I believe, Don Miguel Ruiz. Fantastic book if you haven't read it. The second agreement is this: don't take anything personally. The way people treat you, the way people think of you, their opinions of you, oftentimes has everything to do with them and not you. Now, I say this, and you might be experiencing currently the exact opposite. Sometimes these full moons can make us so sensitive and almost like conjure up repressed aspects of our wounding and shadow to the surface that it doesn't take much from someone or something going on in our lives to ping us, to make us take whatever it is personally. And it can be a very small thing, but it can nonetheless create great feelings, great upheaval, great internal turmoil that initially seems to be because of what they said or what they did or what's going on at work. But this full moon is kind of unique because you might become aware that your reaction isn't likely a match for what's happening. I have this tarot deck. I reference it actually all the time. I should get it here so I can actually show you the cards. But this tarot deck from Osho Zen Tarot has this one particular card that I'll draw sometimes, and it says projections. And right now you might find yourself projecting, actually doing the exact opposite of what the 4 agreements suggest. You might find yourself taking things personally. And I'll give an example of what I mean in a more practical way. The other day, yesterday in fact, I said to my wife, I said, "Hey, are you working out today?" I thought we might work out in the garage together, but she got upset. She says, "Why do you ask?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. I thought we'd work out together." She said, "When you say that, it makes me feel like you don't accept me for who I am and think I'm overweight. We were just in London and kind of indulged in the great cuisine in London. And both of us came back a little bit soggy, you might say. But the point is, she was aware of that. And she understood that her reaction was about her. Now, listen, I'm not above it. I'm not trying to just like point the finger at her. I do the exact same thing. In fact, I did it just recently. I was in London, as I mentioned, helping my best friend, Aaron Dowdy, run his 3-day event. I come in and I speak. I do a speaking thing there. And, I kind of came in hoping to like hang out with him because he had moved and we were, I thought it'd be a good time to chill. But because he's running this event, he was very much focused on delivering a good result. But because of that, it felt to me like distance, and I was taking it personally. Why doesn't Aaron want to hang out with me? Does he not like me anymore? But the reality is, no, he was just running an event. So my point is, sometimes though, like when I was feeling this, it felt like this intense, heavy, great problem to solve. Oh my goodness, my friend is drifting away. My wife felt really amplified emotions because of my simple question. But the point is, both of us were at least eventually, you could say, aware that, the situation isn't nearly as I had made up in my mind. It's actually quite benign of problems at all. And rather what it was doing was bringing to my awareness my own stuff, my own issues that apparently, according to the full moon, are outdated, in need of adjusting, in need of transcending, in need of healing. So in your life right now, you might find yourself having your own version of this. And it's tough to admit. It's a lot easier to say, you know what, that person's making me feel this way. But we almost never feel feelings that are directly a result of somebody else. There are feelings, our programs, our reactions. And this is a fantastic opportunity if you can kind of humble yourself and take ownership of your reactions, of your feelings, to finally decide that, you know what? I don't prefer this. I don't prefer to take these things personally. And the really cool blessing, once you realize that what you're experiencing is merely a product of an old program, an old record playing from the past, that you can just turn that record off. And in doing so, you start to realize your value. You realize how silly it is to allow anything going on outside of you to affect the way you see yourself. Because you and I, we have the ability to assess ourselves. Am I showing up the best I can? Am I doing my best in life? You're going to get people saying you suck at life and you're doing a horrible job and you're flawed in your thinking, your beliefs are wacky, and you're going to get people who think you're amazing, but nonetheless, neither should matter because we are the ones who walk in our own shoes. And even though right now you might feel hypersensitive, and I know these external circumstances combined with your own reactions can feel very intense. It might keep you up at night. It might just be like stressing you out. But the end result of that is greater self-awareness, greater self-love, and just a remembrance that you know who you are. You know your intentions. And it's a blessing when the universe can put these little situations in our life to kind of help us remember that. Help us remember we don't have to look outside of ourselves for validation about our worth, about who we are. We can do that. We can do a more accurate job ourselves, and it's liberating. It allows you to go through life not super concerned with the inevitable fluctuations of what's happening in your day-to-day life. Number 2 will warrant a bit of an explanation, but I wrote down karmic awareness. You may have found yourself faced with certain types of challenges, maybe over the last 3 or 4 months, that seem kind of to take you by surprise. And some of them can even seem unfair at the time, like you've been wronged. There's been like an injustice or something. But as things progress, your own journey, your own story, your own pursuit of self-development, you start to finally see things from different perspectives naturally. And you might find that some of the challenges you went through were, and I hesitate to use the word karmic because that can have so many different connotations, but nonetheless a result of your choices at some point in your life. Now, one of the things I've sort of intuitively learned about my own, at least from my own journey and just witnessing other people's journeys about karma. I used to be afraid of karma personally. I used to think like, you know what? I've done a lot of things over the course of my, 31 years. Just kidding. Older than that. Over my lifetime that might come back to me, But what I've realized is that when I can learn the lesson, when I can see the error in my ways, oftentimes that doesn't have to happen because I've got the message. Now, most people don't do that. Most people are oblivious and they're completely reactive to what seems like random life stuff, random life circumstances. But people like you and I, over the course of years, maybe started to kind of realize that our life oftentimes is a reflection of us, our past, but also our present. I read this somewhere actually recently where from Yogananda. It's this little book I'm reading. It's called The Laws of Success. I'm not going to find it for you. But basically what he said that's really fitting is like your future is the result of your past combined with what you do in the present. And that's what you might find. You might find yourself learning sometimes hard lessons. It can be humbling to realize, wow, I caused some of this. I had a part in this. It's much easier to, again, sort of point the finger at other people and other circumstances, life, the unfairness of life, etc. When you can finally take ownership of it, then you can learn the lesson. And then you don't have to repeat this ever again. And you can start a new chapter from a greater place of presence and awareness. And you can start to make more conscious choices in the important areas of your life and start a completely new, elevated, improved journey, a next chapter, a new beginning. Number 3, your soul's purpose, I'm guessing, is starting to demand more of your attention. You might feel like your life is not going to really change and improve in the way you would like if you don't do what you came to do. A lot of people I found have more awareness than they think about their quote-unquote soul's purpose. And our soul's purpose rarely comes to us in a very direct way, but there's like a hunch, an intuition. You might get synchronicities to kind of like produce what can be a faint but very real awareness of something you know you should be doing and would probably love to do. And right now is a time where you might feel like whether you want to or not, whether you're ready or not, whether it's convenient or not, or the stars are aligned or not, it's like the waiting time is over. I went through this back in 2016 when I had this sort of like passion to start a YouTube channel. Now I had that same passion and awareness that I wanted to be a YouTuber back in 2011. And I tried. I had a camera and I filmed videos, but I wasn't ready, thankfully so, because I had a lot to learn, a lot of growing up to do. But I was aware I want to like help people spiritually. I liked YouTube. I thought it would be like a dream come true to be a YouTuber. At that time, I was learning a lot from other YouTubers, and I thought, how cool would it be to do that? But I gave it kind of like a decent, I'd say, attempt. It didn't work out because for whatever reason, it just was too hard. It was too stressful, and I just wasn't ready apparently. So I kind of put it aside for like five or so years. And I went on and I created almost like a replica of my previous life circumstance. Before that awareness in 2011, I was a personal trainer, and I had like a little gym in my basement. I went through the spiritual awakening, then I had this awareness of my purpose. I gave it a shot. It didn't work out. And then I went back and became a trainer again. I kind of went back into my life. But then the same sort of type of energy came in once more, kind of like before, like this awareness of my purpose, but this time it wasn't leaving me alone. And it was like, you're done with these things you've been doing that are familiar and you're natural at, and they make you feel safe. And it's time to dive yet again into the unknown and do what you came to do. And my life started kind of breaking down, and it was just time. I knew it was time. I knew I was not going to be flourishing I knew I was not going to be in alignment. I knew I was not going to have the support of the universe if I was completely ignoring something I knew in my soul I needed to do, I wanted to do. Oh, but it was so scary. It still wasn't easy. But I did it. I started taking it seriously. I started putting one foot in front of the other. And what I found is that our dreams, our purpose can feel very daunting, sometimes even like implausible from like the starting line. But once you just like stumble forward, say a few steps, you get closer. It becomes more believable. And as you get jogging, you start to have this like experience of witnessing your own momentum. And you realize that, you know what, I'm kind of doing this. I can do this. And you're going to make mistakes. You might fall a bunch of times, scrape your knee, sprain your ankle, but you always get back up. And the further you go on the path, the more momentum you generate. And then eventually it's like, good luck keeping up with it. And then your purpose, your new life chapter takes on a whole life of its own. And it's awesome. It's a blessing. And the support from the universe comes back. The guidance comes back. Synchronicities start to help guide you. And you're motivated. You're seeing progress. And what was at one point from that starting line, this impossible dream, all of a sudden is your life. You're living it. You're doing it. You are it. But it starts with that courageous first couple of steps from the starting line. And right now it might feel like your old life is sort of like crumbling and leaving you no choice. Good. Because this is long overdue. This is going to fulfill you. This is what you're meant to do. You're going to love it. It's going to rock. And now it's time. Number 4, a new beginning. I also wrote down, I couldn't decide how to put it. Another way of putting it is a gift from the universe. It's almost like what you've been afraid to do and pursue and go for and take seriously is going to lead to a life circumstance. Like we're talking more practical, like your life, your day-to-day flow, your degree of happiness, peace, contentment, satisfaction. It all could be a lot better than it is now. And the tricky thing is right now you're used to it. So it's like a bird in one hand is greater than 2 in a bush kind of mentality. But the universe is basically causing that little bird to fly away. And then all you can do is go for those birds in the bush. But then you get 2 of the birds. And they're new birds and it's a bush and it's all this cool stuff. But it's not guaranteed yet. It's not like you don't have a grasp on it yet, which is why it's so scary. Right now you're hanging on to a bird leg, to a bird trying to fly away, and these other birds are saying, come to us. You're going to like it. We're better. That other bird doesn't even want to be in your life anymore. It's served its purpose. It's trying to leave. We are meant to be in your life. We've been calling you, waiting for you, and you're going to love it. So you might find as you just start to like move towards the birds, your purpose, your calling, where you know to be your next step, you'll find very quickly things start to kind of reflect this falling back into alignment with who you are and what you came to do. You might find that you experience a lot of blessings, a lot of unexpected surprises, financial waves of abundance might come in. You might start to attract the right people, a book, external help. And what seems so impossible suddenly becomes very possible when you have the support of the universe at your service, hooking you up. And the experience of that, the results of that, when you are living in alignment, it's everything you dreamed of, that you never thought possible. You never even dared to consider it being a real possibility. But now it's like you've done so much inner work. It's inevitable. You can't go backwards. You have to go forwards. Going backwards is not going to work vibrationally because you've changed. You found your goal. You polished your soul. And now there's all these benefits of doing all that work. How long? How many years have you been at this? And it's time to like take what's yours, man. And it's a gift. It's the result of just being true to yourself. Number 5, manifestation and abundance. I'm going to give an example of what I mean. Years ago, I was running retreats in Sedona, and I loved it. It was awesome. We used to get this same Airbnb that was a beautiful home in the village of Oak Creek and kind of had everything dialed in. And I remember it was the last day of one of the retreats, maybe like 6th or 7th one in that house. It was like the last day, and all the participants had left, and we were just getting ready to leave. And I was sitting there with my crew, hanging out, just kind of just like there's a real magical experience after you do something like run a retreat. You just feel so fulfilled, so like grateful, satisfied, so connected. It was beautiful. It was almost blissful and ecstatic, honestly, at times. And I was sitting there just feeling like that. And I was like in my mind thinking of the next retreat. I can't wait to do this again. And we were talking about it, getting excited. My friend Josh was sitting there on his phone, and he noticed on Trulia, I don't know why he was looking at houses, but he was. And he saw the very house we are in right now was on the market, and they were going to sell it. And I was like, oh my God. I was so upset because I was like, what am I going to do? I had scoured Airbnb. Trust me, Sedona is kind of a small city, and that was the house. I was sure this is the house. It has to be. It's so perfect. And now they're selling it. Who knows if the new owners want to Airbnb it? You don't know. And I was going through kind of a panic mode. But then once I actually called them up because I was like, I would contact them. They said, yeah, we're selling the house. You're done, basically. So my worst fear was coming true. And then what happened shortly after that is I went back on Airbnb, and all of a sudden there's this other house that I've seen many times, but I sort of overlooked because of how unusual it looked. We call it the dome house. It looked like a friggin' dome, like a bowl just plopped there. And it was very, very unusual looking. But as I looked a little bit deeper, I realized that this house was literally made for retreats. There was literally 12 rooms, 20 beds. And it was much more spacious right there on the creek. Beautiful, beautiful location. And once I realized that this is like such an upgrade, we went for it and we started doing retreats in that house. But I say that because manifestation, what you might be experiencing right now might be like the owner's selling the Airbnb. Your own version of that. Like, whoa, what's going on? I lost my job, or I'm getting my pay cut, or something's happening and things are shifting and things, from here, you don't know how it's going to play out. I didn't know there's a much better Airbnb at the time of realizing that my situation is sort of like crumbling before my eyes. But there was, and there always is. And there will be for you, there will be for me, there is for me. And what you might find is that this full moon, you'll slowly start to see where this is heading. You might not have found the new house yet on Airbnb, but there might be more hope. There might be more awareness. And maybe you do find the new house. It's starting to finally turn a corner here. And you're starting to kind of head back upwards in this manifestation process. The way it looks is kind of like this. You're here. You want something. You're not quite as happy as you could be. You go down, and when you're down, it sucks, and you can't see the light you can't see where it's going, but all of a sudden it starts doing this. And just like compound interest, if you ever did the compound interest calculator, it starts off slow, and boom, it just bam, it goes crazy, and it's like, whoa. That's what you're getting. That's when you manifest consciously, when you do the work, when you're going through everything I said, you get to experience these crazy upswings. And when you're coming out of the depths, you're coming out of the dark night, oh my God, and you're just flung into the sky, not only free of your challenges and problems, but heading into a new area of life that is so exciting, so resonant, so in alignment, and the resources and everything you need is right there to support you. That's the direction. And this full moon is the beginning of that upswing. And if you haven't experienced it yet, just hang in there. Mark my words, it won't be long until you start to finally experience the fog lifting and things changing for the better. There is always a result of going into the shadow. They're always as a result of the dark night. I'm reading a book right now by St. John of the Cross about the dark night of the soul. And it talks about the dark night of the soul basically is the result of, they call God infusing itself into the soul. But in doing so, it purifies, it kicks up all of our ignorances and habits and unconsciousness. And it's like our snow globe of our soul gets shaken up and it turns black. And even though you're more connected than ever before, you feel the exact opposite. All you see are the problems and your shadow aspects surrounding you, consuming you. But that's temporary. The divine is there. It's there even though you don't see it. And eventually, the snow globe does what? It settles. And when it settles, you get to have this improvement in your life. But even more wonderful than like your life getting better and things like that, turning around, you have a grateful humility, and you see things through different eyes. You might be starting to notice that now. You may have been brought to your knees in some way in life. And as you start to like come out of that, you have like a respect for like the divine, and even like the simple things you may have taken for granted in your life start to kind of sparkle and shine more brightly. And everything, every little thing, everything in these glasses, everything, it takes on like a brighter tint. Almost to the point where like your new life circumstance is cool and all, but what's even better is when you realize how connected you really are and have always been with the divine.